Got it. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Got the right camera. We're all set. So we're going to just do a quick review of chapter 5 that we did last week. In chapter 5, the author elaborated on 7 differences between the way a person who has bitachon engages in pursuing a livelihood and the way a person who does not have bitachon does so. Number 1, a person who has bitachon joyfully accepts even the bad that comes his way, while a person who does not have bitachon gets angry at God when bad things befall him. A person who has bitachon will have peace of mind, knowing that whatever he does for him, even if it appears bad, is for the good. And a person who does not have bitachon is in constant pain and worry because he's never happy. A person who has bitachon will continue to engage in the means of livelihood that he knows is on his heart and he knows is doing good, even if it isn't lucrative right now, because he knows that his livelihood comes from God in any case. A person who does not have bitachon will only engage in those means that prove to him, bring him material wealth in the pursuit of livelihood, right? And we talked about that. The people who do crazy things because they know they'll make money at it, or they think they will, like a Ponzi scheme or other things, it's proven it works. Yeah, but that's not what you're supposed to be doing with your life, right? And if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, there are teachers who make tons of money and teachers who don't. And there's so many channels that God can give you money through. So we don't just pick our career based on what the average income is for that position. A person who has bitachon will be generous with his money and use it for mitzvot, while a person who does not have bitachon will not do so. As a result, he ends up losing his money. A person who has bitachon will engage only in the means of pursuing his livelihood that promote his relationship with Hashem, his Torah observance, while a person who does not have bitachon engages in both permitted and forbidden means of obtaining his livelihood. A person who has bitachon will not see other people as a threat to success, and he will have so many friends and connections. A person who does not have bitachon sees other people as a threat. They have it, therefore I can't. What they have is a threat to me and the cause of his misfortune, and therefore he'll never have real friends. A person who has bitachon is primarily concerned about his spirituality in the world to come, while a person who does not have bitachon is first concerned about his materialistic pursuits and not his spiritual concerns. And remember, we're physical beings, but we're here, and every time we do the exact same behavior and we have a spiritual intention behind it, we're turning something that seems physical into something spiritual. I can't believe we're on chapter 6 already. We started this course, Rosh Hashanah, this class. We've been doing this since Rosh Hashanah, and we're almost at Purim. It's really, really special. I'm really honored that we are spending this time together. Chapter 6, page 222. So the previous chapter concluded with the attitude of a person who lacks bitachon about his duties towards God. Such a person needs to make sure that all his needs are met, and only then will he think about his duties to God. This chapter will pose 7 responses to such a person, illustrating how foolishly mistaken he is to delay paying his obligations, Torah and mitzvot, until he has enough material prosperity. So I'd love to hear from you guys before we kind of get into the nuts and bolts here. Who has, myself included, not experienced at some point lack of bitachon thoughts? We all have, right? We've all experienced lack of bitachon thoughts. Not only that, but in this chapter, he's going to talk about certain specific mindsets. And I think you're going to recognize every single one. If not one you've experienced, then the one you've heard other people say. You've heard it in the media. You've heard it even maybe in Jewish magazines. You've heard it in people you don't understand why they're talking like that. And then you question even your own bitachon thoughts, like, oh, maybe I'm overly optimistic, or I'm naive, or I'm, right? Like, I obviously must not be doing it right because they look like wealthy. But, right? So this is really going to be super clear to check the and the character patterns. And the reason he has to do this is because if you recognize these in yourself or people you love, It's human. It's universal. These are the archetypes of the Yetzer Hara, of the evil inclination, of the knowledge of good and evil, and how sexy and compelling and it makes like a lies to us and makes us believe it. And so it's totally okay to recognize this in yourself and others without judgment, and recognize this opportunity and a gift to see and grow and develop and catch yourself when you start to think these thoughts or hear other people say this stuff as if it's true. Okay? So number one, super relevant. We all know it. The security mentality. We're on page 222 if you're following along. I've seen it necessary to expose 7 points of foolishness and errors about people who engage in this way of thinking. Although we'll need to elaborate on this, it's important to do so because the following 7 points contain substance which embarrass and rebuke people who think this way. And these are called the sects of owners and security pledges. They don't trust that God will take care of them, so they take a security pledge from him, a guarantee that if they live a long time, they will have what they need. And only when that security pledge is in their hand, meaning they feel confident of having enough wealth for the rest of their lives, do they turn to give God what they owe him, namely observant a mitzvot. This is like a merchant treating God like a merchant who sells on credit to a person who he doesn't trust to pay. So he's like, okay, give me your house, give me your car, give me all your stuff. And then if you pay me back, I'll give you everything, right? And so we're saying to God that he can't be trusted. Well, if you give me this thing and this thing and this thing that I want, I'm going to take on this extra mitzvah. I'm then going to do this thing, but I'm only going to do it if you first give me what I want. If it doesn't go my way and I don't get what I want, I'm not going to grow. This isn't about a relationship. It's completely transactional. And so if this is one archetype of behavior, we can see how it impacts our relationship with God, right? It also reflects our relationship with, like we said, it hits all the points with other people. Oh, you didn't clean the dishes? I'm not going to do this thing for you that you like. Okay, our relationship with food. I ate a salad and did 6 push-ups and I'm fat. Sorry, no more salad. I'm not going to the gym. It's a complete waste of time. You didn't do for me what I wanted. Sorry, I'm not doing for my body anything it needs. That's it. Completely transactional relationship. But
this is the opposite of what Lala was saying last week. You're saying that we're saying, God, if you give us this, we will do this. Lala was saying it in a much more positive way of, I am doing this for you, God. Now please reward me with X, Y, and Z.
Well, what she said was, I feel your love.
Right.
I'm so grateful for everything you've given to me up to this point. I want to increase our relationship. And I want to be closer to you because I know you're going to do good things for me. I know you're going to keep my son safe. I want to show you before right. I even answer, L'shuasecha kivisi Adonai, right? I know what is coming. I don't need your security pledge. You gave it to me at Har Sinai.
Exactly.
So thank you for bringing that in, because that was exactly what she was saying. Okay. And so we want to look out for this Yetzer Hara, this archetype in all of our areas of thinking. And everywhere we practice it, we're practicing having a better relationship with God, right? So if we see we're being very transactional, like, okay, I don't trust you to do the thing you said you're going to do. So, we get very controlling maybe, or in a victim mode or a martyr, right? We have all of our different ways of being like, well, I don't trust you. But you're never trusting that other person, or I don't trust that if I take care of myself, I'm going to see good results. Okay, let's just do it out of the love to develop a relationship. Okay, their conduct towards God is akin to a merchant, right? He divides various types of divine service into 4 groups. He says there's the unpaid watchman, the paid watchman, the renter, and the borrower. Okay? Each of these people are guardians because he sees himself as a guardian of God's world, tasked with protecting it through the study of Torah and fulfillment of commandments and divine service. but each one differs in how he sees that relationship with God. The unpaid watchman serves God with total dedication out of love for God for no personal gain. These are like our guys here on reserve service. Okay. They have maybe really good paying jobs. They're leaving their families. They're good paying jobs. They're barely being compensated by the army. They are really standing there protecting our country for love of the country and for the love of the Jewish people. They're the unpaid watchmen. They take it seriously and they're volunteering for this service. The borrower, he's at the opposite end of the spectrum. He's only out for his own benefit and he feels entitled and demands God give him whatever he desires. I didn't need to wake up today. You woke me up. You owe me everything I need today. Not, I'm so grateful. You didn't even have to wake me up. No, who says I wanted to wake up? Now you owe me. The paid watchman, he sees divine service as very important, but he can't rid himself of the need to be rewarded, this transactional attitude. He wants to serve God and guard his world, but he doesn't trust he's going to be taken care of. And so he needs to be paid, and he needs to be paid on time, and he needs to see it very much materialized so that he can go to work each day. If he doesn't go to work and he doesn't know he's going to get paid, right? It doesn't have so much bitachon. And then the renter is only out for himself. He knows he needs to pay in order to receive, so he pays God with his divine service. However, he only does so with the intent of self-gain. He desires worldly pleasures, and he sees his divine servants as the currency to receive it. This is the secular idea of manifestation. Yeah, this is the secular idea of manifestation, right? I'm going to be super grateful, but I'm not grateful because I'm grateful. I'm grateful so I can get more. Because if I know I'm grateful enough, right, and I don't practice this law of attraction, then I'm not going to get anything I want. It's not about having a relationship with the divine, okay? And this is that, like, difference. The ultimate goal, although the spiritual journey begins with ultimate motives, a person should become an unpaid watchman, where he serves God for no reward at all and simply has the full trust that God is already taking care of him. And that's where it keeps talking about being a servant of God. A servant is under the complete jurisdiction of the person he serves. That person is, he knows without a shadow of doubt, that person has to provide him food and clothing and shelter and education and everything he needs. He only needs to think about doing his job. That's all he thinks about, because it's on the boss's, master's problem whether there is enough money, whether there is enough food, that the food is made on time. He only has to do his job, the servant. That's the unpaid watchman. And so throughout our lives, we're going to find ourselves, different archetypes here. And we want to keep checking in with ourselves and being like, how secure am I that God is going to give me what I need, that I can now focus on the relationship and on serving God. Okay, it can be a little confusing. So questions about how that went down. Questions, comments, chat or unmute yourself.
That was very clear. You actually clarified a lot of life's questions for me.
In what way? Tell us.
In what way? Just like I always find myself in one of these 4 categories, and you self-doubt yourself as, am I really okay? Is it okay to think this way? Is it okay to be this way? And yeah, it is, because there are times that we're going to be all 4, and we need to work on improving ourselves. And instead of having the self-doubt, we just have to realize that it's a lack of bitachon, and there's a way to strengthen and change.
That's so beautifully put. Thank you. It was really, really beautiful. Beautiful. Okay.
So I've got a question, actually.
Yeah.
I might cut out. Hang on a minute. Let me just go down the stairs, because there's like a Wi-Fi situation in the house. Different ones upstairs and downstairs. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
So with me, it's more like you listen to different shiurim, and they come from different perspectives. And some of them are in sort of like what I call the masculine energy of like Musar and everything. And the others are more like feminine, as in Hashem loves you. You don't need to be deserving. You just need to trust. And where my wobble happens is when I get very far into the feminine, thinking it's okay, it's all going to be fine, and don't worry, Hashem loves you no matter what. then I listen to someone who's giving the mussar and I'm like, oh no, like, no, I have to deserve it and work really hard and say all the Tehillim and pronounce it properly and say all the way till the end. And I get sort of like a bit ADHD about it. So it's about finding the fine line in the middle, you know, and I suppose we all have those archetypes inside of us, but is there one of them that's true, or is it just that we're just human and we're a bit mixed up?
I think that I struggle with this too. Like, you know, I'll be in space and so inspired and taking on things and working on my diligence and my mitzvot. And you'll hear a shir and they'll be like, this other thing that you're not doing, like, sorry, everything else you're doing is all fake because you're not doing this thing that I have decided, because there's a Gemara that says that this thing is super important. Therefore, it's where you personally should be growing at this moment, the way they see it.
Yeah. Like, obviously no one can decide it for you, but, you know, in different situations, I'm not always up to those things. And so I think, well, you know, there was one share that I listened to about a Gemara, an argument in the Gemara where the Rabbanim had a debate about whether it would have been better or not to be born. And the answer was, I think, they came to the conclusion it would have been better not to be born or something like that. And I just think all that we go through, there's so much human suffering and pain. I can't help thinking a little bit like, well, then what's the point, you know, of trying so hard? And are we supposed to think Hashem loves us, or are we supposed to think Hashem is expecting a lot of us? Where is it? According to this Bitachon, you know?
Well, to that, I feel like you have children, you're a mother, right? The more you love them, the more you expect of them, no?
I used to think that way, and now I sort of just surrendered that. I mean, mine are grown up. So I think the more expectations I have, the more trouble I have.
Not expectations of them being perfect, but when you look over them life and the more you love them, doesn't the love put a prism of how great they are doing and how special they are, even when they're imperfect?
For sure.
So if God is giving us this amazing flow of good, right? And he sees us, that's why he says only he can judge. He goes into every nook and cranny of our heart and our head and sends us opportunities to grow. And that, I think they're saying it is a masculine feminine thing, right? You can say, well, is it better to spend the money on a deck that you're super going to enjoy for 15 years, or to put that money in a savings fund and it's going to grow this much percentage in interest?
I'd always get the debt.
And I think a lot would say, well, would I have the deck? What are the events and the special memories and the things I can't buy that deck is going to give to my quality of life, right? And I think the argument about being born or not being born is on a numbers level. To never have sinned or never have the opportunity to fail on a numbers level might be better than failing and living an imperfect life. But we know that God says that no tzaddik can stand in the place of a Baal Tshuva. No person who's had a blameless life can stand in the place of somebody who's fallen and gotten up and returned. So, you know, it's like they say the two pockets. You have to remember you're nothing but dust and that the whole world was created for you.
I love that one. Yeah.
I think it's the same.
Yeah. It's knowing when to take out which one. What you said actually hit home on a visceral level, the part about being a mother and having children. Like, obviously, I love them even if they don't do the things. But when they do the things, there's that appreciation that's like nachas, you know, they're doing the things, you know. So it's like both. Yes, of course, Hashem loves us, even if we don't. But if we appreciate him,
right?
Then if we appreciate him, then surely we would do those things. And wouldn't he get so much more nachas when we are, when we get it, when we have the connection? So I think that landed. Thank you.
And it's also so true that, right, like when you feel like a sense of like too much expectation and it's not where you are, then it's very hard. Like, you know, if someone says, okay, God really wants you to work on your Shabbat, that just makes God so happy. So for one person, that could be using a different Shabbat sponge to wash their dishes. And for another person, that can be lighting candles and not doing any work for 30 minutes after lighting candles. And they're both equally beautiful, because why do you want your kid to do the things you want them to do?
Lily, this is why I love you so much.
Thank you. Is because you know it would be to their benefit to do the things. We don't want them to have a good job and a loving wife and good children, like, because we want grandchildren. I mean, that's true too, but we want it because we know how much nachat it will bring them.
Yeah.
And so, I wanted to do, I'll give you guys an example. I wanted to do something with Taharat HaMishpacha, the laws of Nida. After all the women and everything that happened in October 7th, I felt like I needed a tikkun. I was really feeling it in my body. And I have ear problems. I had many surgeries on my ears as a child. And so I only dunked in the mikvah one time since I was first married. That's what the rabbi said. And thank God I've never had an infection from going to the mikvah, been completely protected. After this, I said, well, I really want to push myself and dunk 3 times. And I said this to my friend who is a halachic expert in mikvah. And she said, no, Lily, you can't do that thing. I know you want to, but that's not the thing you can do, because you have a thing that you don't do that because of your ears. But guess what? There's a million other ways that you can pick an area to be more careful with this mitzvah. And she gave me like 10 different ideas, and I picked one. I got this app that calculates different times more exactly. So I get more notifications, and maybe I do things like at a little more exactly the right time, right? Where it's just a little bit more paying closer attention. Okay. So I think that there's always, we can listen to a shir and we can be like, wow, he's saying this thing is really important. Where am I on that thing? What is one thing? And hopefully you have like a good rebbitzin that you can then be like, look, I heard this. And like, I feel like, yeah, I'm really not there, but what is one small thing from where I am that I could do?
That makes a lot of sense. I like that quite, because I've actually been thinking about writing a post about this, and I feel like there's a common thread through the Torah, which is Hashem is asking Ayeka, and then the answer is Hineni.
Yes.
But with where are you? Where are you? It's not about where is everybody else. Like, we have to take a look. And, they say on the door to the oracle at Delphi, it said, know thyself. That's the gateway to heaven. You have to know where you are.
I think it's very true. And everybody has where to work from. And so that's what you're saying is exactly the opposite, right? Of someone who doesn't have Bitachon, who's taking a security pledge, right? A security pledge is, God, you want me to improve on this mitzvah? You just sent me this whole long musar shmooze that's like super masculine and like, I better do this or you're going to be mad at me. Well, guess what? You know what? I really need, like, my fridge is broken. And if you don't fix my fridge, I'm going to be mad right back there at you. So you want me to do all these things and you have a laundry list? Well, guess what? I have a laundry list too. So you show me yours and I'll show you mine. Right. And we don't want to have that kind of relationship.
But that's different than what Shulamit and I were both going through a couple of weeks back. Like we said, like we felt angry at God at times and we would open the sitter and close it because we couldn't connect. That's not the same thing, is it?
Same thing, because that's right. That's, you weren't saying, well, I'm only going to open my sitter again when every hostage is home. Sorry. When you show me where the good is, and it better be in my lifetime, and it better be right now, and it better be like this, then I'm going to, bless you and be grateful for everything you are currently giving me. No, it's right now I'm struggling with something that perceives right now as in a package that does not look good. And instead of like, I need a minute. I need a minute.
Okay.
And you're trusting that God's going to be there for you when you pick back up the sitter and you're coming to a Bitachon class, right? You don't think that you hung up the phone just because you closed the sitter. In your heart, waiting for you.
Right.
Okay.
Do thank you for saying that. And I was in that place, and you saying that, look at you picking up the phone for the Bitachon class really landed right now, because I've also been finding it very difficult to daven even over Shabbos saying hello. I'm like, what hello? Like, I couldn't, it was just so hard. I was saying words, but then you're saying, okay, but we're here, we showed up. So it's not the same as like doing that bargaining thing, saying, I'm only doing this if you're doing that. We just literally can't. And I think Hashem is going to understand that. That's where we are right now. It's okay. It has to be okay because we're human, right?
And again, these are his children too. You're in pain because his children are in pain. As a mother, right? If one sibling's in pain and the other sibling's like, Mom, I just can't talk to you. I'm feeling so emotional about what's happening to my sibling right now. Like, it's not the same thing if I don't want to talk to you at all. Like, you're like, oh, I'm so grateful that they love their sibling so much. I see how much they're both suffering, right? And it's looking for the signs and looking for the things that are going right and practicing grounding. You know, every time we ground and we pay attention to the 5 senses of our body, we activate the Bitachon section of our brain. And every time we're going through these other archetypes, we are literally activating the fear centers of our brain.
So interesting. I'm just literally going out to the forest now because I just needed to do that. And as you're saying it, you're like, yeah, it's important to ground, and that's Bitachon. Wow. That landed. Thank you. Came to the right class.
By you.
Yeah. It's a beautiful picture too by me.
Turned into one.
Bitachon moment right there.
Yeah, right.
Every time we acknowledge that, you know, a stormy day, I've been seeing all over Israel the beautiful red flowers of Israel called the kalanit, and they only come up at the end of winter and they're wild. It's illegal to pick them. And over all the hills where I live, it's just covered in them right now. And it made me want to
take a picture and send it.
I will. And it just made me want to cry on the way home. And I was like, that means spring is coming. Like, Adar is coming. There's going to be reasons to celebrate, you know? But even in Adar, like, it got all the way to the last minute that, you know, he was going to destroy everybody and look bad for most of the book. And, you know, a different tangent I'll save for later. Okay, the second response to a person without Bitachon is usually when a person takes a security pledge from his friend, the value of the security pledge is limited according to the amount of the debt.
Where are you?
Page 225 at the top.
Oh, okay.
However, the person who has a way of thinking mentioned above has no end to what he seeks to God, because he doesn't know how much money will be enough to sustain him and the members of his household for their food and their needs until the day of their death. Even were he have many times more money than that which in truth would be enough for him, his mind would never be at rest, because their end is concealed and the length of their days is unknown. So he's a fool for seeking that which he does, because it is neither limit nor measure. Right? So we're saying to God, I don't just need to know that today my mortgage is paid, I have electricity on in my house, I have running water, my fridge is full of food, my life is full of people. Today, my needs for today are met. We're like, well, I need to know that I'm going to be able, right? Someone told me today her biggest concern is her retirement fund. You know, she's terrified. Like, her biggest financial concern is that, thank God, they've always been able to pay their bills and take care of everything, but they've never been savers. They've never been able to save. And she feels like super stressed about it, super stressed. And then she can't tell, like, right? She goes to some shiurim and they're like, well, you have to live within your means. Like, she's like, well, maybe, you know, we never should have taken these vacations that we took. Stop taking, you know, luxurious vacations. Sometimes you need a time with your family out of your house. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to know, to really be honest with yourself, right? What are my needs? What are my wants? And to say that I always am going to ask God, like I would ask from a friend, right? If a friend wants to borrow $100, I'm only going to take the value of $100 from her, right? I'm not going to charge her interest. I'm not going to be like, well, give me your house because you want to borrow $100, right? But even that with God, there's no amount to know exactly what we need. Only he knows, because we don't know what number is on the back of our backpack that says how long we're going to live.
We also can't question how we spent, because I very strongly believe that, let's say we did go on a vacation, okay, and because we felt we needed it, and we spent a certain amount, had we not gone on that vacation and done something less, if we were supposed to still have that extra $500, it would be in our account. If it's not there, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to make us spend it on something else. We're always going to have what we're supposed to have, no matter what we do.
And that's true to the point of being intentional with our spending. When we're negligent with our spending, that's a place to grow. You know,
Right.
My good friend and Shlomi's good friend, Yael Trush, is a money coach, and she says, you have to look out for money leaks. Every 6 months, every year, you have to get up and you have to look, do I have subscriptions that I don't use that are, do I have things I'm double paying on? Do I have, so yes, once something has happened, we're not supposed to be like, oh my gosh, I've been double paying for, a year on this thing. I'm such a bad person. Like something would have brought that to my attention if it was an emergency, but I have the achrayut, I have the responsibility to go through and to make a plan. And, if somebody who's had money and had less money and had more money, almost always when your vacation is values based, you can have an amazing vacation. You have date night and you go to a steak restaurant and you spend 300 shekel. You can go to the same restaurant and eat beforehand and share an appetizer and have the same exact experience for 250 shekel. And you can go on a walk on the beach for free or just pay for gas. And if your intention is to spend time together and have a beautiful experience, the money is irrelevant. And we have to know which stage of life we're in.
Right.
And that's a constant, again, work in progress. Right. And working on our skills, just like we have to work on our skills. You can be like, well, it's enough to walk. It's enough to walk and not do any other exercise, depending on your lifestyle. At some point, you might need other skills. You might need to do some mobility. What if you have to go to physical therapy because you've tripped on your walk, right? Like there are times we need different skills. And we have to be open to learning those. Okay. The second response highlights the fact that he'll never be happy with what he has. Somebody who's taking a security pledge from God, right? Because there's always the next pledge, right? Okay, so you gave me what I need today, so I'm going to do this. Now what's next? He's considered foolish for his insatiable lust for money. The third response to such a person, and remember, this is the same Yetzer Hara archetype. It's transactional, right? And so there's so many responses because there's so many different kinds of people, and different responses will speak to different people and will speak to us maybe in different seasons of our life. The third response to such a person who takes a security pledge from his friend, will only take a security pledge from him if he does not have any outstanding debts that he owes from this friend. If he did not borrow from this money himself from this friend earlier that he hasn't paid back yet. And only then is he justified to even ask his friend for a security pledge. However, if he has outstanding debts that he owes his friend, and he's aware that he has these legitimate debts, it makes no sense whatsoever for him to ask for a security pledge from his friend. Nor would it be fitting for him to take a security pledge from his friend, even if the latter volunteered to give it to him. What does that mean? Who kind of sees that with God? What is he talking about here?
I feel like we need to continuously do our part and be consistent.
But consistency doesn't look like this. Consistently looks like this. That's what
consistent trying.
Consistently trying. So what does it mean that it would be ridiculous? So let's say I charged you $4,500 to come to my class. Okay. And then you haven't paid me yet, and I want to borrow $100 from you, but you owe me $4,500. Would you be like, look, Lily, I'm going to need some proof that you can pay me back, but you owe me money, right? Doesn't make any sense. So,
but I know you now, so I'd be fine with it.
He's saying that God has given you so much up to this point. You are in debt. I hate when they use the word like, we have to fear God, we have obligations. it's privileges. With every privilege comes responsibility. They're duties of the heart. They're not obligations. Just the language. Again, everybody's sensitive to different language. I get rebellious when I hear like, you know, obligation and chains and things like that. But duties, privileges, you know, that speaks to me. That speaks to me.
Right, it does.
You know, so I have the privilege of waking up. I have the privilege of being born at this crazy time in history. That comes with responsibilities. That
Can I
comes
just
with, yeah.
Can I just add something there? It's just occurred to me. What you said is so resonant with me as an ADHD person. We don't like to have things we have to do, but we're very enthusiastic and we'll go all in and hyper focus on things that we really love to do. And chovot, halvavot, comes from the word chaviva. It's love. It's endearing. It's like these are things you would want to do. And that just landed with me. Thank you.
No, I love that. I love that. I should make that the title of the course, right? The duties of the heart is, you know, that relationship of service with God. That's the service of contribution. He's giving us so much. What can we give back today? Right? And you were saying that it's Adar. So Adar is about recognizing joy and being an agent of joy in the world. So you could look around you and say, oh, where's the joy today? Well, you know that you're looking outside, it's a beautiful day, there is joy, but how am I going to contribute to joy for somebody else today? I'm a partner in this, right? I have the privilege of being here in this moment. You know, Esther was in the palace and every day she was kind, that said, to all of the servants of the palace, and they were all on her side. Right? Instead of being fearful of them that they were going to turn her in, she made all of them her allies through her kindness. You know, and she would celebrate the Shabbat, and she would, you know, designate them to know which one was going to be the one that would show up and know that it was Shabbat. And it's just very interesting that Adar isn't about just what we're getting. It's about recognizing we already have, and how are we, you know, unpacking the joy and contributing to make the time more joyful. You know.
Sorry, can I add one thing as well to what you're saying, Lily?
Of
It
course.
just landed with me as well, something I've been thinking about. So Adar is the month where we're asked to be marbim b'simcha, and there's also a saying that ein simcha k'hatarat hasfekot. There's no simcha like removal of doubt. And what we're learning now, emunah, it's about removing doubt. It's about removing the doubt so that we can trust, so that we can be happy. And that's exactly the midah that Hashem needs us to bring against Amalek, because Amalek was the enemy that is represented now by self-doubts, that he tricked all the ones who were stumbling because they weren't solid. They weren't, you know, they weren't part of the pack. They were lagging behind. And that is probably all of us now. We're all a bit lagging behind. We've gone through so much, and we're so much in self-doubt, and we're like, what's happening and where are we? And we're all a little bit shaken up. So, you know, Malik can get us in that place. So what we can do to heal is this is exactly it. So that we can get from the
and
place
grab
where brings
back and pulling everybody up who's straggling behind, right? Taking
exactly.
our, and mirabim is like to multiply it.
Nice. So sharing that knowledge and wisdom. Yeah.
And being certain, you know, one of the things they teach you as a coach, I'm sure you know, is to hold certainty for your clients that they will be successful till they can feel self.
Till they see it themselves. Yeah. Beautiful.
You know? Okay, were it possible to add up the good deeds of all the people throughout history and to consider it as if they were all one person and performed all of those good deeds would not be enough to repay God for even one kindness that the Creator bestows upon a person. Isn't that big? Let that sit for a minute. One of the things that I've been doing daily now in my journal is every day I'm like thanking Hashem for more and more of the small things, like, thank you so much that never in my entire life have I not had access to food. You know, like it's just not a thing that I've ever had to experience. You know, I've had to miss a meal because like I left my lunch at home, but like never really did I not have access to food. I've never not had access to water. I've had not the coolest clothes or the nicest clothes, but I've never not had adequate clothes. You know, I've had shoes, even if they were secondhand shoes or new shoes, like there's always been access, you know. I'm married, I have children, I have, you know, even though I've had times that socially I didn't have as good friends, I was never ever completely, there was always at least that one girl who I really liked, or that one teacher, even when everybody else felt like, you know what I mean? Like, and the more that we start to focus on how in the past, even when things were dark, like there was so many kindnesses that happened, it really helps me approach each day with that waiting to see how this one is going to turn out. Like, where's the good hidden today? And it's really helping me. So I'm sharing that with you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I just have one more thing that just occurred to me now. Can I say it?
Of course.
I'll let, it's just like really downloading. This is such a beautiful share. Thank you. So, you know, it says Milchemet Hashem va'Amalek.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always wondered about the language of it, because it should be Neged Amalek or against La Amalek, Ba'Amalek. But it says Va'Amalek. Why Hashem and Amalek? Because we get to pick. We get to pick a side. Do we believe in Hashem, or are we going to go to self-doubt? Are we going to be on the side of Hashem and for trust, or are we going to lean into all the toxic stuff coming out of, you know, maybe, I don't know if I interpreted that right, but it felt like that could be the way that I understand it.
I think it's always a choice. We're just not always aware of the choice, but that's why we're learning, is to, when we get hijacked and we think we have no choice, to come back and remember, okay,
we get to choose. Yeah.
You know, get out of that sympathetic fight or flight response, to get into that grounded response, be like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. There are choices. You know, even Daniel, who jumped into the pit of the lions, had the choice to do that. He had the choice to just have comfort and live a life of complete lies, of being lied to by all of the non-Jews around him, and live as a prince in exile, or stand in his true self and assume that jumping into the lion's den in reality would not be as bad as living in the lion's den of, you know, lies that he was currently living in. And that's what we're doing, right? Esther, Adar, it's all, Hashem is hidden, but he's completely revealed in the whole story, right? But he's also hidden, and we have to uncover him. Okay, so let's just finish this last piece here. How then is this brazen-faced person not embarrassed to ask the Creator to give him great favors in advance of his service of God, in addition to those favors that he has already been given in the past? Surely his debt toward the Creator will weigh down on him, and perhaps he will not be able to fulfill his promise to serve him, because his days will end and his time will come.
But we say that last Avinu Malkeinu says exactly this.
Explain, tell us, elucidate it for anybody who's not, you know, aware of
The
what you're
last Avinu Malkeinu says that we have nothing to offer. We have no merit, nothing. But even so, please have rachamim on us.
Mm-hmm. You know, this is, I think, part of what we were talking about before, of holding two thoughts that can both be true at the same time. We trust that God is going to give us good tomorrow. We're not saying here, well, you know, I didn't earn it. How am I going to pay him? I can't possibly pay him back for all the good he's given me. So how dare I expect that he'll give me good tomorrow? That's not what he's saying. What he's saying is, how dare you say to God, my service is dependent on what you're going to do for me tomorrow. My service is dependent on the open, overflowing abundance of my heart, of the love I've already gotten, and the tools I have to work with in this present moment.
So it's two separate things. It's service in a positive way, like you said, duty, responsibility, privilege. And then it's a separate category of trust, knowing that Hashem will take care of us regardless.
And Hashem is going to take care of you tomorrow. So I don't need to I owe him, and I already know he's being so kind and giving me compassion to let me pay him back over time. Why do I think he's not going to let me borrow what I need today? But even still, the Jews were not punished by asking for water. When they went to God instead of going to Moshe, they were not punished. We're allowed to ask God for things. We're not allowed to say, my service to you is dependent on if you're going to give me the things that I want, the way that I want it, in the package that I want it. We can ask for what we want and what we need and trust that he's going to give it to us in the best packaging possible, even when that packaging comes not looking the way we expected or thought it should.
You just defined what tefillah really should be.
What connected for you? Why are you saying that?
Why am I saying that? Because so many times, at least for me, when I turn to Hashem, you say the words, but you're thinking in the back, I did this, please do this for me. I need this, I want this, please do this for me. But really, the tefillah is connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu based on just pure knowledge and trust. And you're praising him and giving all the good. And when they say that the praise isn't for Hashem, it's really not. It's for us to recognize that we really can trust him and that he really knows what's best for us. And Hashem, you are so good. No matter what we've done, these are all your praises. And I really, really trust that you're going to do what I need.
And this is what I need. Right. And you're the only address that I can go to.
Yeah, you really just defined tefillah for me, the correct way of tefillah.
I'm very honored, and I hope I'm speaking right. Hashem is speaking through me, because that's a big responsibility.
Everyone hears what they need to hear, how they need to hear, when they need to hear.
I just want to say that Lily, as always, will share on the mark. Really helpful.
So much. So we are going to pause here. We are on the top of page 228, one day at a time. And we're going to talk about this idea about the future versus the present. And if you think about it on a psychological perspective, when they talk about all anxiety and fear, and pain is almost never about what's happening at the exact present moment. It's about the future fear, right? So we can ask Hashem, today, right now in this present moment, give me some good things to do to increase joy and happiness in the world, and take care that the hostages and the chayalim and the world, everybody should be safe today, and that something today should be moving. Like Mashiach should come today. Today, things should move we should start to see things moving positively, and I want to be a part of it, right? I want to be a part of creating the good I'm asking you to give me. What can I do? I'm like you said perfectly, Shulamit, Hineni, I'm here. I got this. Send me the ball. Tell me what to do. Point me in the right direction. I want to be a part of something good today that's going to bring about this thing that I'm asking you for. And if I can't be a part of it, please just take care of it yourself. That's okay. It's not all you get to be. Connie, what are your thoughts from today?
First of all, I want to say I'm in awe from everything. I am taking it all in. I just love what everyone has to say, and you're just so amazing. Thank you. And what is my takeaway in general? We all have to think, okay, how can I be? What's my job right now? Every moment we have a choice every moment in our life. What can I do to be a light for myself and for everyone around me? How can I increase positivity and just enjoy? Because what's my job? We have to focus on I have to focus on what I need to do, and not think, oh, this person should be doing this, and Hashem should be giving me this, that. No. We are here as servants, and And I mean, I'm mustering myself because I know we're human, and sometimes we get into moments where we put ourselves in victim mode, sort of, and we think, 1 minute, why is this happening to me, or why should, so we have to change that train of thought and focus on, okay, I'm a Hashem soldier. I'm here for a purpose. What is my job right now? So, and right now it's Adar. We're supposed to be happy. That's number one. What we all want to be happy, right? So, and the Rebbe says actually that when we have two Adars, there's 60 days. We're supposed to be happy in Adar, right? So we have 60 days of increasing our happiness. And this thing about in kashrus, if something not so good, let's say a little bit milk goes into a pot of, right? So at 1/60th, then it's okay. So then it's, so if we're going to put in 60 days of pure happiness, it's going to take away all the negativity. So that's what we got to focus on, just trying to bring simcha and happiness, and it spreads. It's if I work on myself being that way, the energy is gonna flow all around.
So if it's okay, I know you're having an organizer come to your house today,
Yeah.
and who is a good friend of mine, who's lovely. But there's something so beautiful about organizing space. And when you go through the process, you have two options, right? Whenever we clean out a junk drawer, or we go through our mail, or we go through our clothes, there's this huge opportunity, judgment and criticism. How did I let it get this messy? Oh my gosh, why do I have so much stuff I don't need? This is so overwhelming. Or I have been blessed with so much stuff over the years. Like, look at all these bills that I've paid. Look how many years I've had electricity for. Like, look how many years I've had water. Look how much time has gone by, and how many beautiful clothes I owned that were once a fit for me, and now they're not. Look how many things I've received, and now I want to pass them on to somebody else, or I want them to be recycled, or it's time to have the space instead of the thing. And we can come to it as part of our divine service. Everything we do that's physical, whether it's taking care of our body, or taking care of our home, or taking care of our children, or taking care of our work, it's all part of our divine service when we choose to think about it that way. And every time we get less self-critical, and we find more of that privilege in the opportunity to have to minimize, versus people. I was going to tell you guys that there was this thing that I was going to wait. My husband showed me this movie last night called American Underdog, because we're going to watch the Super Bowl today. He's super into football, and it was about this child with this dream to be the top person. And he was very poor, and he grew up with a single mother, very, very poor. And his whole life, he kept missing out on his dream, and he kept missing out on his dream. And he fell in love with also a single mother with 2 young children with disabilities. And it got to the point they were so poor that they almost died in a car freezing on the road because they ran out of gas because their house had run out of electricity. And all these things happened. And then in the end, he became he has the most Super Bowls, second most Super Bowls. And he came to God through that process. The woman he fell in love with was very religious. And you see his transformation, how he could only have become the person he became because he had to go through these really difficult things that you're watching it and you're but he doesn't give up, and he works on his values, and he corrects himself when he makes mistakes, and he feels him, and he comes through all these things to realize that, in the moments, it's just very powerful. It was a very beautiful movie. And in it, we were just discussing Bitachon. We were discussing Shar Bitachon. We're saying that's what it sometimes is. Sometimes you feel like you're in the freezing cold car and you're about to die. How could that possibly be the thing I needed in order to become the person that I'm capable of being? and we are constantly in that battle with everything that we do during the day, that the things that have nothing to do with our areas of weakness, when we work on those things, all of a sudden they totally unrelated help us in some other area that we didn't know that we needed help with. That was so important to do something in our life. And I think, yeah.
Oh, no, I wasn't saying 1 second too. Sorry, my father-in-law was coming in. I'm not on.
I think that it's just very true, especially why I think being on a health journey is so important, and taking care of your body is so important, is that it teaches skills and disciplines and privileges and appreciation and gratitude that then spread into every other area of your spiritual existence. And that's how I feel like everything is in the world. So we are exactly at 4 o'clock. Thank you guys so much for moving to the new time. And the recording will come up.
Better. We were more awake.
Yay! And feel free to.
Those of us in Israel, at least.
Yeah. No, but we have people here. Can we go for another hour? Right? It was really great, and I'm excited to continue with chapter 5, and then we're in chapter 6 now. And really, there's only chapter 6 isn't that long. We're going to finish chapter 6 tomorrow and start chapter 7.
Oh, tomorrow? Yay! When? What time?
I'm saying not tomorrow. We have probably two shiurim left, maybe 3 left. And then we have to decide if we're going to do a different Sefer and Bitachon. We're going to start this one back at the beginning. So you guys can start thinking about it now.
But if we're going to do something different, we need time to be able to order it or buy it.
Yes. So we'll discuss and we'll work. I also want to work through some of the appendix on the book. So while we get to the new book, if we decide to get a new book, the appendix, if you didn't look through them, are really awesome. Okay. So we will do those.
Enjoy your daughter's game.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
A week, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much.
Have a great week.
Bye.
You too. Bye.